Welcome back to the Ready Room. I'm your host, Brittany MacLean Campbell, and we are just 3 days away from the Bell Canadian Swimming Trials, which will decide the team for the World Championships this summer in Singapore and the Para World Championships as well. We're going to break it all down today, the key storylines, what you need to know, what our hot takes are going into the meet. And I found the perfect person to do it with me, my favorite converted swimming guru. Please welcome Devin Heroux. Devin, welcome to the Ready Room. We've been dreaming of this moment and it's here.
I'm fully tapered, freshly shaved. Listen, this is spectacular. You and I have been dreaming of this scenario. The Ready Room stresses me out.
I was just about to say, because the point of the Ready Room is there's anxiety, there's excitement. Some people are chatty, some people are not. I can assume both of us would be very chatty in the Ready Room. So today, that's what it's all about.
When I'm nervous, I talk a lot. So if I was in that Ready Room getting ready for a race, my competitors would hate me. It would be part of my strategy, Britt, to psych everybody out. But literally, how many conversations about swimming over the years, just steps away from this studio, have we had? And now here we are getting ready for another trials. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, and to set the tone for all of our viewers, Devin and I spend hours in the office bantering about swimming, going back and forth, hot takes. Who do you like? I put him in his place when I can. He challenges me back. So we're giving that energy, hoping to give that energy here today to bring you into that conversation as we get set for trials. Now, you know, it's a post-Olympic year. Paris is now in the rearview mirror. LA is ahead of us, but we have some time to get there. It is the changing of the guard, a new chapter. Mm-hmm. There have already been world records set in the spring of this year, which is very uncharacteristic in the sport. Just a general throw to you, Dev. How do you feel about swimming in Canada right now?
Well, I'm getting ready because you always get me excited. This time of year is always exciting in the swimming world. And in a preview piece you'll be able to read on CBC Sports, I talked about the fact that the last time the trials were at the Commonwealth Place pool in Saanich, they were right after the Olympics, Tokyo. It seems like yesterday, April 2022. And you know, you've been hearing from a lot of athletes, Britt. The year after the Olympics, it's a chance to try new things. It feels like maybe the stakes aren't so high. But it's funny because Swimming Canada, John Atkinson, the high performance director, he likes a blueprint that works. So they're going back to the Commonwealth Place pool in Victoria to hit the reset button on the Olympic cycle. It feels like yesterday, because I was at those trials in Victoria, that we were starting to get sparks of greatness in the pool. It really felt like something special was happening, and it does feel like a lifetime ago, but yesterday, Summer McIntosh, you know, I'm looking at some of her numbers from 3 years ago, specifically in the 400 IM. She's shaved 10 seconds off in 3 short years. And you know, Josh Liendo, we were starting to see him dominate in those trials. So there were a lot of things happening 3 years ago in Victoria that was signaling to all of this success. Of course, they won 6 medals at the Olympics in Tokyo. They won 8 medals in Paris. And so buckle up. Here we go into the Commonwealth pool where hundreds of Canadian swimmers, I know we're going to talk a lot about the stars, but hundreds of Canadian swimmers are going to be there. I think it's going to be a fast meet, and I think we're going to see some records fall.
Yeah, and I mentioned the mid-season world records. You know, those all came from Americans. We had Gretchen Walsh, of course, and the Katie Ledecky one, which I know we'll chat through. But I did want to bring some context because so many people are wondering, you know, it's a post-Olympic year. Why are people setting world records after the Olympics? You're expecting this 4-year cycle. You're peaking. I think if I had to answer that from an analyst cap, I think it's a lot to do with that. You finally release the pressure, right? Like you're working so hard for one moment in time, and then you're continuing to grind it out. But someone like Ledecky has to, you know, manage all the different events that she does. And then finally she goes to one meet. She's had a great training cycle. She can let her rip. And then sure enough, breaks the world record. It's like that deep breath. And so what I'm most excited about this year is for all the athletes collectively, like you said, less pressure, no major, you know, ramifications. It's not like if they don't make the world team this year, they're not going to get to go to the Olympics. So I think there's going to be some exciting and surprising fast swims.
Well, to your point about Katie, she breaks the 800 meter freestyle, her own record. She is the queen of that event, undoubtedly. Nobody loves training more than Katie Ledecky. It's fascinating to me. You would know this as an Olympian. a great swimmer, you would know how hard it is to find those gains this late in your career. 9 years after she set the world record, she breaks her own world record. Turn back time. I'm not going to sing, but they are turning back time. Kylie Masse turning back time, breaking her 50-meter backstroke in Fort Lauderdale at the TYR series.
I think they need to measure that pool, maybe.
I want to swim in that pool. And Sophie Harvey posting some of the best times 9 years later, personal bests as well. So it is a fascinating thing to me in the life of a swimmer, now that I've been in this world a little bit more and I understand it, thanks in part to you, how a swimmer can suddenly find these tens of seconds, hundreds of seconds, and improve. It's a beautiful thing to see. I think we're going to see it at the trials. Like you said, there's going to be some experimenting. We're going to get into some of the stars and what they've entered in. Some people are going to be very, very busy. And of course, as a meet goes on, likely to drop off events. But it's rock'em sock'em. It's ready to go.
Yeah, and my favorite part about that post-Olympic trials as well is always the new names we're introduced to. So there's going to be some fun kind of like, a changing of the guard in that sense. But there's also a bit of a test, a gut check for the veterans, right? So we have names like Kylie Masse, Penny Oleksiak. We also Yuri Kissel, these are athletes that were on the last Olympic team with me back in 2016. Taylor Ruck, of course. That was over a decade ago. We've been chatting about these athletes. They're here, of course, to perform, but it also is a little bit of like, okay, am I still going to take on the next 4 years, or am I going to play year to year with what's working with me well? What do I want to keep up with? Do I change my events a little bit? We talked to Kylie. She's kind of gone from the 2 and the 1 to maybe the 50 and the 1, just strategically as she ages. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. But we also want to note of who's not here, unfortunately or fortunately. I'm very happy when athletes have chosen to move on from the sport, but we're going to feel it, and we're going to feel it big, especially in the women's fly. Maggie McNeil, now retired. Kat Savard, now retired. Rebecca Smith, now retired. Those 3 individually were always in the final of the 100 fly, Dev. So talk about the impact that might have when we watch these races.
And listen, the women's program has carried Swimming Canada for a decade. Yeah. You were a part of that. 2016 in Rio, we started to feel this greatness, this tidal wave of momentum. They have carried it to this point, but it will feel different, specifically for me not holding Maggie McNeil's glasses when she's in the pool, because that became a thing. But you talk about Taylor Ruck and Penny Oleksiak. We have talked about those 2 as a huge part of the success of this program for so long. And not to say they're an asterisk or they're deeper in the conversation, but they're not leading the conversation anymore. And that's a really interesting thing to me. Sydney Pickram isn't going to be at these trials. She has played a big role in the success. So the door swings open right there for some of these athletes. As we look at Javier Acevedo, I was all excited when I saw him entered, but you never know. He retired, and then is he back? Because we know the 50-meter stroke events have been added to the Olympic program. Yeah, when you talk about year by year, because that 4-year commitment is a big thing to wrap your head around. But I think of somebody specifically like Kylie, who is so consistent. She always raises her level to find the podium at international meets. And like I said, a Canadian record in the 50-meter back. If I'm on the fence and then I go lay down a Canadian record, I'm sticking it out. I'm buying myself another 6 months, I wouldn't be surprised, hopefully this ages well, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Kylie in LA.
Me neither. I would like to say it's a hot take, but it's not. We both believe in her. I think we'll see her. And yes, this is a big decision maker that changed once the LA events were added for the 50s, and that will continue to evolve. You did mention Javier Acevedo quickly. He did tweet, put on X that he will not be going to the trials, but he's picking away at what he's deciding still with the sport. So wouldn't shock me either if we found him there a couple of years from now. Okay, we're going to talk through 5 storylines. I'm calling them reasons why you should care about these trials. That'll get us through some of the events, some of the key topics. Our first one is one a little bit close to home, and I'm calling it Busy Bees. So I'm questioning to you, what will Summer McIntosh and Sophie Harvey decide to swim? And the reason why this is so, even a question is because both of them are entered in quite a lot of the trials. Summer McIntosh entered in 7 events and said she will choose 5. Sophie Harvey has entered in 8 events and hasn't said exactly how many she's going to swim, but I'll throw it out there right now. Day 1, if she chooses her program at Worlds, she would have the 400 free, the 100 fly, the 200 IM, and the 4x100 freestyle relay. So likely she's going to make a little decision there. Devin, I know you've got the hot take that the 800 freestyle is where Summer McIntosh is going.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yes, 15 events between the two of them, at least entered. So let's start with the busy bee, Summer McIntosh. 7 events entered. I don't think this is going to be a surprise to a lot of people. I think we will see her take on the 800-meter freestyle. Of course, Britt, she posted that 8:09 earlier this year, one of the fastest times in history. Of course, Kylie Ledecky, the U.S. trials going on right now, posted the 3rd fastest time last night, 8:05. Are we doing hot takes now? Can I say it?
You can absolutely always
or we
hot
can
take.
wait.
You can always hot take.
I really believe Summer McIntosh will either take down the 400-meter freestyle or the 800-meter freestyle world record.
Wow.
So that starts Saturday with the 400-meter free, and then on Sunday is the 800-meter free. So that'll likely, look like a 3:55 low for Summer on Saturday night, or I really think Summer can get to 8:03, 8:02. Is that crazy?
It's not crazy. I do have to check. I always like to check Devin a little bit, though, of like, what makes him think that? Is he know what Summer's pacing in practice? Like, I don't know.
I do. I go to every practice.
I believe in it 1,000%. And she's taught me one thing. It is that we never put limits on Summer McIntosh. So 1,000%, I think it could happen.
Yeah.
I think I do have to give a little bit of credit, though. I would give her the world of credit, but to Kylie Ledecky, because what she's achieving, like that time is not no joke. That time, she's got over the 10 fastest times ever in history. She is still, to this day, picking away at improvements. Like you said, last night she was at 400 meters under her world record pace.
Under her world record pace.
And I think I know it's sometimes hard as Canadian fans to think, but I think this is the best thing for Summer McIntosh.
Yes.
I think a rising Kylie Ledecky as a challenger and as somebody she can chase is so amazing in terms of, when we watch her win the Olympic gold in the 400 AM, how fun was that? Don't get me wrong. But to not see anyone there with her, I think we take it for granted a little bit. But that 200 AM was so fun because she had constant competition.
Absolutely.
So I think I do want to bring up her program for Worlds because this is the decision she's going to have to make. Day 1, there's going to be potential double up in the 400 free and the 200 IM, but it's just the heat and the semi.
Yeah.
After that, though, if she chooses the 200 free, it would not conflict with anything. If she chooses the 200 back or the 800, they're on the same day. Those are completely open days for her. So her program is looking pretty strong.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, the biggest thing, if we flip quickly to Sophie Harvey, is just that she goes all the way from the 50 back entry to the 200 breast to the IMs to the free. She's really going to have to come to these trials and make a decision on what am I doing well right now and what do I want to keep going.
The evolution of Sophie Harvey is one of the great stories in Canadian swimming. At 25 years old, she finds herself on the international podium for the first time last December at the Short Course Worlds in Budapest. And when I spoke to her, Britt, she was emotional. And what a beautiful message she shared about never giving up in your dream of finally reaching it onto the podium. She was named the World Aquatics Female Breakout Swimmer of the Year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see her on the 400-meter freestyle podium as well. I think her PB is 4:05 in that area. Can she get to that 4-minute area?
4 minutes is a tight one. I think I definitely think she could be a finalist. I think the 400 free is something that we watched her get to the podium short course. I think there's a little bit of an added depth when we look at the long course pool. I do think the 200 free though, she, in season, she's dropping 156s. The depth across the world though is continuously chasing and catching up. Sophie 4 fourths at the Olympics.
Right.
I think that's extra motivation, especially with the confidence after Short Course Worlds, and her in-season racing is phenomenal. She went 4 best times over a month ago when I talked to her last. So I'm feeling pretty good about where she's at. But being versatile, as much as that's a positive thing, sometimes you do have to make those decisions of what I want to put all my eggs in what basket.
Yep.
Okay.
Coach Greg, they're going to have some tough choices, but I can't wait. Swimming free and easy.
Yes.
What a beautiful thing. You know about it. I don't.
But it's the best feeling if you get there. But
Sure.
I retired early because I didn't quite get there. Okay, our topic number 2, stroke 50s.
Yes.
This is our chance to kind of find out who is the future here, because these are events that are now added to the LA Olympic program. And those less familiar with swimming, stroke 50s implies the 50 fly, the 50 backstroke, and the 50 breaststroke. The freestyle was already on the radar. They were events swam at World Championships, but this is the first time they're going to be on the Olympics. Now, people are like, well, people have always been swimming them. Yes, but there's going to be a whole new emphasis. We're going to get to know the main players, because it's kind of gotten to the meet and you're like, okay, it's the 50 time. And we just kind of like,
Throw
we
it
watch,
away.
but we throw
Yeah.
it away.
Yeah.
This is going to be the time to find out who are the Canadians to keep an eye on.
And fascinatingly, listening to your wonderful conversation with Josh Liendo, he talked about the fact that he still hasn't mastered the 50 fly, which was mind-boggling for me to hear, because I'm just thinking it's all gas, no brakes. Just jump in the pool and go fast. This would be something I would specialize in. Perhaps.
Perhaps.
We might see it.
We might see if we can test that out in Victoria.
But that is an interesting thing. I don't know if you can provide perspective on that. I know you guys did give some context about timing, but isn't it just a matter of jumping in the pool and trying to get to the other end as fast as you can?
With fly, it might be the biggest challenge. I think the backstroke, it's really tempo, go, 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 freestyle as well.
Yeah.
Fly, it really is so much about rhythm. And he's building into his 100 fly. He would know exactly how many strokes he's taking. A 50 fly, it's almost like if you are speeding up your stroke,
Yeah.
you lose the efficiency of what's moving through the water.
Got it.
And it takes away from what Josh is so powerful at.
Yeah.
Now, on the other end, Ilya has proven that the 50 fly is something he's challenging for. He's got some speed right now.
And to that point, what a bizarre situation where in the 50-meter free final, he decides to swim the 50-meter fly at an event a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah.
And breaks his own Canadian record. It won't be ratified by Swimming Canada because your time will count as a 50-meter freestyle. But he broke it.
Yeah, he's definitely making a statement. Ilya has been racing so much. So I'm just almost like, Ilya, after trials, I need you to chill out and train a little bit and then come back, because I'm amazed at these in-season times, but I'm also like, okay, let's move on. And speaking of moving on, our third topic.
Yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about the paraside. Nick Bennett, I mean, one of our favorite athletes to watch, of course, at the Paralympic Games this summer, wins 2 gold medals. But the story between him and his sister is really powerful. She was just announced as she's going to be the new head coach, that's Haley Bennett Osborne, of the High Performance Center Quebec. And that is such a phenomenal program. They've been kind of removed from their pool for a little bit due to the fires, but she's going to take on a great new job. And that all began with coaching her brother at the Red Deer Catalina Swim Club. Pretty cool.
Yes. You know, anytime I've talked to Nicholas Bennett, and what a champion, and he seems to be having the time of his life right now, traveling, swimming fast, his sister going to take on the program. He has directly attributed all of his success, almost to a fault, to Haley.
Yeah.
It is just a beautiful bond. Again, one of the great stories in Canadian swimming. And I think a lot of Canadians will remember how emotional Nicholas was when he was on the podium. Those 2 golds and a silver, closing ceremony flag bearer along with Brianna Hennessy. Nicholas expects the best every time he's in the pool. So does Haley of Nicholas. And so it'll be interesting to me. I don't know at this point, Britt, if Nicholas is going to be going to the
We
Quebec
don't know
Center.
yet. That's why it's kind of like we'll find out at trials
I would
storyline.
imagine that will likely be the case just because of how close they are. But we'll stay tuned, and we will be in Victoria, and we will get that answer. But can't wait to watch Nicholas do his thing.
Of course, other greats in the Paralympic space as well. Orly Rivard will be there. Sebastian Masabi. I know Reed Maxwell was a fun name we got to know last summer as well. I got to talk to Danny Doris a few weeks ago. So a ton of incredible success in the Paralympic space. So that will all be through our coverage throughout the week, and looking forward to kind of breaking those storylines down.
Quick last little point on that. Kudos to Swimming Canada for including all the para events during the trials so that they're getting the love they deserve, the spotlight. That's a change I think they made, perhaps, was it 1 or 2 trials ago, Britt, where they incorporated it all?
They've sometimes gone together, but it's been, it was always like the Olympic events, then the Paralympic events,
Right.
and now they're completely within the whole
Love it.
program so that it's not an afterthought. It's never should have been an afterthought, and it's a continuous journey. And I think, too, it allows the Olympic discipline to really learn more about the Paralympic discipline, get to know the athletes, watch them, admire them, respect, like all of it, I think is
awesome.
phenomenal.
Yep.
Number 4.
Yes.
our men's and women's breaststroke events are kind of wide open in the best way possible,
Yes.
right? So we've talked about the three-headed horse on the women's side, Alexandre Lepage, Sophie Angus, and Shona Branton. Those three are separated by 6/100ths of a second in 100 breaststroke. Only 2 spots up for grabs, but that is only if they get under that Aqua A standard. If you are wondering what Aqua A is, it's the old FINA A, but FINA is no longer the name of the governing body, so we say Aqua A. But that women's breaststroke is always something fun.
It has become, over the last couple of years, one of the marquee events at Canadian trials because of the intrigue, because of the level of competition. Of course, Sydney Pickram isn't going to be at these trials, but she was a part of that great rivalry. And Kelsey Wog was a part of that conversation as well. And I know Kelsey retired as well. And so high tides raise all boats. And I love that they challenge each other because essentially, Britt, from my perspective, you're also fighting for that medley relay spot as well. And so we're going to see another showdown. That is a pressure-packed event. And as I've come to understand in the breaststroke, on one day, if everything's clicking, it can be beautiful and effortless. But if you feel that pressure and it gets disjointed, it can feel like you've never done a breaststroke in your life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Sophie Angus has been very vulnerable about the fact that she almost called it quits. And then she found that effortlessness and she has glided through the water and has provided some pivotal swims in big relay moments. So buckle up as usual for the breaststroke events because it really, like I said, has become full of intrigue in a discipline in this country, at least.
That didn't used to have that.
That didn't used to have that at all.
It's fair. And I think on the men's side too, one of the excitements is like the rising of Oliver Dawson to the Finley Knox, who surprised, I think, most people, including himself, to get his hand on the wall first in the 100 breaststroke at the Olympic trials. Decided to not swim that event, which then put Apollo Hess onto the team to qualify in the relay spot. A lot of moving pieces there as well. I didn't even mention yet the 200s, but similar characters with a few added sparkles. Mary Sophie Harvey won in the women's side.
Of course.
So we'll keep it a close eye, but these are the fun events to watch because they're truly could go to anybody. We're going to name that team on the last night of the meet, and that's the fun part where we get to really break down who stood up to the pressure and who maybe was challenged by it. Our last why you should care is the relay potential. So we talked a lot about the depth of this Canadian team, and unfortunately in Paris, they fell short of reaching, as much as there was amazing performances, fell short of reaching the podium in any relays. And that comes after a lot of momentum in Rio, a lot of momentum in Tokyo, getting multiple women's relays on the podium. There's a bit of a struggle now in terms of those events.
Well, listen, John Atkinson, the high performance director, has been very candid about the success of any program is always going to be reflected through your relay performances. And I think I would hope that a lot of swimming fans in this country, and you, Britt, would agree that it feels like we're maybe one female swimmer away from a really powerhouse relay team. And so once again, there's a massive opportunity here as we look through some of those highlights over the years of setting the tone for these meets, right? That opening night at the Olympics has always been seemingly a freestyle relay medal. And so I'm excited again for Penny Oleksiak. You know, I was thinking about all the questions I might be asking all of the athletes when we get to Victoria, and it always feels like we need to do a check-in at this point with Penny. And yet she put a 53.6
She looked
there.
good a few weeks ago. Yeah.
She looks dialed in. And so a strong Penny. And if Taylor can find her form again, Mary Sophie Harvey. And then, of course, you're going to put Summer McIntosh into a relay situation. I think it's all going to depend. I think the coaching staff and the brass at Swimming Canada are going to have to decide if they feel at Worlds in Singapore this summer that they have a legitimate medal opportunity. That's when you put Summer in. That'll be an ongoing conversation. But I think if you can get these women finding form in the freestyle and the 100 and the 200, look out, because I think the medley relay is right there as well. So yes, we are probably one or two women away. And you also like to have somebody swimming in the heat and move people in and out in the morning to save some legs and arms. And on the men's side, these guys are committed to it as well, right? Like they have cared deeply. I think they got a first taste of it in Tokyo when those guys, what did they finish? Fourth?
Yep.
And so they so badly want a relay medal too, and they've been pushing, and I'm excited for them, and it's all in front of them. Now is a huge opportunity, and perhaps we'll see a breakout performance, perhaps a future Josh Liendo or Summer McIntosh. We don't even know them yet, and by the end of the Victoria trials, we will.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, right? We're going to keep an eye on all of the 100s because those really decide both the medley relay and then on the freestyle side, the 100 freestyle. But then I also think that 200 is fun to see as well. So it's less of a statement now. It's more of something to watch and keep our eye on for a week from now for us to break it all down for you again. And don't worry, we'll have you covered there in Victoria, because these are the things we have to watch. There's going to be some breakout stars. I can't wait for another female we haven't been talking about yet to pop out a 53. I want another new man added to the program. We talked about Anton Sauvé. He was another one that just missed the Olympic team last year and then comes back to the Canadian Open and goes better than he was at the trials. So there is so much excitement still to come, but I think it's a reminder that there was a slight gap last year in this space that we have to continue to build upon. And that's something Swimming Canada, as you mentioned, is working hard to make. So we're moving on to our hot topics segment. Hot topics here is what's current, what's vibey, what's happening in the moment. We're going to, because it's you and I, we're going to take it on a little bit of a spin for more of a hot takes, because we always love our hot takes here. Yeah. So we're each going to have a hot take for two categories. The first category, where we give one just big prediction. First category, a record that will be broken. Devin, what's your hot take?
Well, I did it already, didn't I?
Say it here.
But you know what? So I think Summer McIntosh will break a world record either in the 400-meter freestyle or 800-meter freestyle. Can Josh Liendo take down Brent Hayden's 100-meter freestyle Canadian record?
Absolutely.
I think he's been knocking on the door.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put that out there as well, that Josh Liendo finally breaks Brent Hayden's 100-meter freestyle record.
And hopefully he'll be there because it's a West Coast event. So Brent usually takes the boat over and makes an appearance.
And
so
he's been cheering Josh on to break that on.
He's wanted this more than Josh, I think. So, okay, we're hoping for a Canadian record there. That's a great one. Okay, mine is a slightly, I feel, hotter take. I think Summer McIntosh has a chance to break the world record in the 200 butterfly.
Whoa.
I know. This record has stood since 2009.
Yes.
And it's happening on day 4 of the meet. So hear me out on this. It's happening on day 4 of the meet. Summer likely not fully tapered for this meet. Maybe not even at all. We were at her practice last week. She did 7.5K. The girl's not tapering for this meet, okay? But that's no challenge for her. She's broken crazy records untapered. But the thing about a long meet is you actually gain rest as the meet goes on because she's not doing hard practices throughout the meet. Day 4, in my opinion, is where she's going to hit her peak. And it's going to be a drop taper. And she's going to have a little bit of the 200 IM is her only day the day before. And out of all the events to prioritize the trials, it's going to be the 800 free and then the 200 fly, in my opinion. We never really get to the last couple of years at the big events. She hasn't really been challenged very closely. I think she's going to give it a rip at in Victoria.
Goosebumps.
I
have
think Summer
goosebumps.
McIntosh has a chance.
What is that number?
So the time is a 2:01.81.
Chinese swimmer.
Yeah, Ziggy Liu.
Yes.
Or Ziggy Liu. 2:01.81 from back in 2009, super suit era. Summer's best time is a 2:03.03, so she has to take just over a second off. But if we know Summer McIntosh should drop time, we know
I love that.
And she said so many times that the 200 fly is her fun event. She loves it. She has so much fun.
Yeah, right.
She's going to be feeling the West Coast energy. She's going to be hitting her taper. Summer McIntosh breaking the 200 fly world record.
Ooh, that would send a shockwave around the world.
That's a hot
take.
I had to come with something hot, Dev.
That is sizzling.
Okay, our second hot take, our breakthrough athlete, who's an athlete that Canadians are going to get to know here at these trials.
You mentioned it a little earlier. 17-year-old Oliver Dawson out of Grand Prairie, Alberta. He's coached by his father. I said it again, 17 years old. 50, 100-meter, 200-meter breaststroke events. I think this is going to be a real breakthrough moment for him. I've been excited for him. He seems so committed to it, just committed, speaking of committed, to Indiana University. And, we talk about the development of a female swimmer and a male swimmer, and he's only 17 years old, and he's putting down these times, flirting with age group records. I think he has the age group record in the 200-meter breast. I just feel like Oliver is ready to meet the moment.
Future.
He is the future, yes.
Okay, I love it. I think that's a great answer. Slightly not, he did go to short course world, so I don't know if he's a full breakout, but I'll give it to you because I think he's going to be the future star.
Okay.
My vote is on Madison Krieger.
Okay.
So she's a 16-year-old. She trains at HPC Ontario with Ryan Millett. Has kind of been itching or kind of, what do you say?
Scratching at the surface.
Thank you. Itching. Scratching at the surface for a couple of years, even though she's still very young.
Yep.
She is a fun one because in the 200 backstroke at last year's trial, she was third. Okay. Now with Kylie Masse not doing the 200 backstroke, that event's kind of wide open. And she throughout in-season meets has been doing really well. I think she's poised to really hit her stride. And this is going to be her first senior national team. So
Fantastic.
Calling it here, looking forward to the future she has ahead of her. Okay. You've got a thought.
Just quick shout out to Ingrid Wilm.
Oh my God, phenomenal.
We didn't mention her name. I just want to say Ingrid Wilm because she's
just Ingrid.
That's it. She's
Ingrid,
lovely.
We appreciate you. We thank you. 50 back, 100 back, and maybe the 2. So that's going to be a fun one. We'll have to keep an eye on.
Right.
It is time for my favorite segment, No Cap, where I ask my guests to be as honest as possible. Devin's laughing because he has no hair. So he said to me earlier, I don't need a cap. Dev, these are honest, raw. You're too good. Okay, Dev, my no cap question for you today.
Okay.
You can only pick one. What is your favorite personal memory poolside?
Wow. I mean, it happened in Paris over and over and over. I would say Summer's 200-meter IM win. And if you listen back to that interview, and I have many, many times, people remarked that I was probably just as emotional, maybe more emotional than Summer. That was her 3rd gold medal. The way she did it was just absolutely captivating. No Canadian athlete has ever won 3 gold medals in a single games. And I have to remind myself that this isn't normal. Right? That these world records, these Olympic records, these gold medals, we have never seen. And so when I get back to that and I think about bearing witness and being there for that, that really stands out to me, but probably every world record she's broken to. I'll leave it there. I could go on, but that was really special.
It's pretty fun to look back, like once you started covering this sport and how far it's come in such a mindful and beautiful way. Like you think too on the Paralympic side and being there for these moments with these athletes. Like I the purpose of asking you a hard one was knowing you weren't going to be able to name one, but this is the exciting part is there's so many still ahead, which is great.
I just want to say that I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to the swimming community in this country because I am a full-on devout swim fan, and it is a beautiful sport. It is a blessing for me to be able to cover these athletes, and I do feel so lucky to be covering this golden generation. It hasn't always been this way, and I just feel really, really grateful to be able to be here for this moment for Canadian swimming.
We love it. And with that, we will tease a little bit what we're up to next week. So Devin and I will both be in Victoria with all the action. I'm going to be on the play-by-play with Jason Pratt. So every night on finals, if you hear a familiar voice, that is what you're hearing. Finals are going to start every night at 5:30 Pacific or 8:30 Eastern. Remember, we've done swimming on the East Coast for quite some time. The West Coast gets their chance. That is going to be starting on Saturday of this week, and then it goes all the way through Thursday. Devin's going to be poolside, getting all the reactions, socials, digital channels is where you're going to be able to find all of that. And then the weekday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Devin and I are going to have a post show right after finals where we react to the biggest storylines. We keep you up to date with everything you need to know from the pool. And as Devin said, what a privilege it is to cover this sport at this time. We love doing it. You may or may not see one of us hop in the pool at some point. Devin, let's find out who's going to World Championships this summer.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
It's such a pleasure. Can't wait for trials.